about the lessons learned from the Asian financial crisis back in 1997. That was the year that the baht, the currency, was devalued. A lot of businesses were wiped out in the country. And there's a lot of criticism that maybe there's still a very conservative mindset from the business community because of what happened in 1997. Isara, what do you think? Is this something that we need to get over?
Well, I don't think we get over, but the lessons learned that make us conservative. Actually, conservative is a good word.
It is?
When you walk into the ladder, if you don't fall down, because you're steady going up. Actually, conservative make us, in our company, make us stronger. So actually, 1997, a crisis, we make to change our mindset, because all our staff and employees, realize that we have to reorganize, we have to restructure our own organization. So our mindset changed. We have to think about competitiveness. We have to think about risk. We have to think about the organization that have to be moving forward. So,
well, the business culture has changed because of 1997 and the Asian financial crisis, because it seems like more companies are hoarding more cash just to be safe. And, Srettha, as you said in your business, I mean, the balance sheet looks so much better now than it did back then.
I think the key is financial discipline. Be very disciplined financially. If you look back in 1990s, I think maybe all of the real estate firms have got a high debt to equity ratio. But now all the top 6-7 firms have got about maybe less than 3 to 1 debt to equity ratio, which is very, very prudent.
Right.
We don't over leverage. You carry enough cash in the balance sheet. You don't over expand.
Yeah. So, Minister Kittiratt, you said before though that because of the mindset that was learned in 1997, that maybe it's a little too conservative for the environment today of Thailand, which is booming.
Well, I would say that, of course, before 1997, we definitely did something wrong. It could be a kind of a long list of things that we have done wrong. And of course, we paid the price and we learned a lesson. And however, if we were poor and act rich, that's wrong, right? But if, I'm not saying we are rich now, but if we are not that poor and we still act as if we were poor, it's another side of the wrong doings too. So what we should have learned, I think we've got to learn to be reasonable. And of course, after Asian crisis, for about 5 years, we had to try to do everything to recoup the loss in international reserve in order that Thailand would be back on our feet and being well accepted and well respected by the international community. And of course, I think it was good that we were conservative during those days. However, after a decade and a half, the situation was so different from what it was.
What about from the international perspective, from the multinational perspective? Is this a time right now to be aggressive and expand and not be conservative anymore in Thailand?
There are two things that is important. One thing, we have been taught that crisis is norm. Problem is norm. It always comes. But the second one that is more important, I think, is the teaching of His Majesty the King of Thailand about sufficiency economy. This is not only because we are Thai and we love our king, but it's really a real philosophy of life, philosophy of doing business, that we must have the balance. We must have the balance of doing everything. So meaning that when we are now doing the business, we should not only thinking of making money, but we must also thinking of taking care, sharing with the community, with the environment. At the same time, we should have consciousness to really to know ourselves. So therefore, as Kun Isara said about risk management and whatnot, we should know. We should know our pocket. We should know our own ability, what is our real strength and whatnot, and invest in something that we are capable of. We have to do more about innovation. We are going to be open up to ASEAN economic community. That is part of our strength. But then at the same time, how to keep our own identity.
So, Srettha, I want to get back to this this label that of foreign people who don't know Thailand think that it's still an agriculturally based economy, because you're selling high rises that will fit anywhere in the world, in modern Manhattan, in Hong Kong, in Singapore. So how do we get past this label, this view of Thailand?
I mean, given the fact that unemployment rate is very low, under 1%, right? I mean, it's going to be a problem, even in our industry, right? But having said that, I think we have managed to overcome that with automated machines, especially in our industry. We do have now prefabrication factories that can handle the labor shortage, that enable us to deliver all the housing to the clients on time. Another thing that Kun Kobkarn mentioned that I would like to add on is the much talk about this infrastructure developments into our country, the 2.2 trillions. People focus greatly in terms of how it would improve the GDP, the income, the put money into people's pockets.
Well, what should they focus on then?
I mean, it's good to focus on profit, on money, but again, there are some other index that we should look at.
Like?
If you have infrastructure developments, if you go ahead with this 2.2 trillion infrastructure developments, there'll be some development in various provinces. Hopefully people don't have to come to work into Bangkok.
Right.
All right? Bangkok will be a much better place to live. And the happiness index, I mean, people can work, live, and raise their children in their home countries. I mean, in their hometown. I think that's really is key.
Minister Kittiratt, you said that infrastructure is needed to offset the slowdown that we're seeing in exports and consumption. Without that, are you concerned that maybe we're headed into a downturn for the Thai economy?
So it's our job to review ourselves. This government, after the flood, we plan to invest some $11 billion for the integrated water management system in order to minimize the risk of natural disasters out of water. Then also it's time for us to look at the transportation. It's the responsibility of the government to invest into this infrastructure, then leave the rest of the activities for the private sector to add the value from where we build on. That's what I believe.
Coming up, I want to talk about going global, because there's been this recent acquisition trail by Thai companies, for instance, buying into Ping An and also FNN. I want to talk about whether or not this is the trend going forward for Thai businesses, and what advantages does this trend have back home in Thailand. Isara?
Well, I think it's a trend because at the moment, you remember after 1997 we were conservative, right?
Right.
So now we have cash reserve. So what do?
Expand.
And we have been restructure our organization, so our people are stronger. We have many younger generation educated from abroad. Now they are very well professional. They are very professional. So it's a time that Thailand needs to go to the region, because in the year 2015, the ASEAN integration. What's that mean? We have almost 600 million people more consuming, and people crossing border. Thailand have 7 countries that surrounding our border that by road. So I think many organizations are thinking about how to get the network of those countries.
Minister Kittiratt, we're coming from a position of strength in Thailand, and this is actually your push. You're pushing these corporates, go outside the borders, take the Thai name and the brand with you.
Well, you've seen the process of the so-called internationalization of the country. Right? 50 years ago, local producers produce products to sell to the local market. After a while, we import products to sell to the local people. We welcome international investors to start up the factories, produce products here, sell to the local people. And after a while, we learn we have got enough experience. Local business people produce products here to export to the world market. Now it's reaching the stage that I call it from in to out to so-called out. We have seen many companies that produce products in the second country and sell to the third and fourth countries. So I think it's our job that we'll have to work with all other countries in the region.
Yeah. Where do you see this country going? What do you want this country to look like in 10 years? Srettha, let's start with you.
I mean, you can't deny that the coming infrastructure project is going to be the future of Thailand. And we really do need to invest heavily in the infrastructure. We have been lacking behind our neighboring countries. So I mean, it's a must that this project must go on. I think if you have to be short and precise about it, this infrastructure project is a must.
Kobkarn, what do you want Thailand to look like in 10 years?
Well, I'm now talking on behalf of a mother with 2 children, not only in terms of business. I would like my children to grow up in a country where they can find peace and happiness with the sustainable growth. So I have to go back again that I think the business have to grow together with the community and the environment. And so therefore we cannot leave anything behind. So the wealth distribution, stable growth, and the quality of the people, especially not only in terms of productivity, but quality of the mind. Quality of the mind, how to live and share and care for others. I think that is most important. And also we have to admit that with the opening up of ASEAN, we have to act, I hope it's going to be a peaceful region, that everyone will be equally important. Not we are as the elder sister or elder brother, but we should join hands and to create the ASEAN as one of happiness and prosperity that will go together.
So, from your perspective, Isara, where do you see Thailand going?
Kobkarn trying to say that harmonization, right? So I think I like to see in the 10 years the gap of the have and the less have narrowing. I think that's what we should have. Because the Asian country now, the gap is widen and widen. So I think I'd like to see the gap that narrow and more productive workforce. So and happiness. I think we still need happiness, and our Thai culture we still remain have our Thai culture is the core of Thailand. So I think we have a good culture, and I like to really keep the Thai culture, friendliness, and we don't have the discrimination. So our country is very good.
And keeping the Thai smile.
Thai
smiles.
Of course.
That's important.
So I think, and steady growth. I think steady growth is the best.
Minister Kittiratt, we're going to let you round this up for us.
Well, I think
What's your vision for
again, Thailand is in an important transition, someone called transformation period, similar to what we did 50 years ago when we start to industrialize ourselves, start up Board of Investment Office, welcoming international investors to the country, and also perhaps another round after 1997 that we improve our standards in governance in every possible way. It helped Thailand to improve from where it was, where we were. And now I believe that we are in another important transformation period. We're working together with the private sector that perhaps by the end of 2020 and also after that, we're lifting up the quality of life here. I'm not trying to be too obsessive about economic numbers. I agree with Kobkarn and Isara that we have to work on the soft side too. And thanks to these business people, you may not know how much they work to help the young people in this country in every possible way. And Srettha has got a good sports projects in Kobkarn in education and Isara in the other knowledge-based area. So thanks to this effort of private sector with the right guidance of the government, I believe that Thailand have a great future.
Global powerhouse in the future?
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights today. From all of us in Bangkok, thank you for watching. That's our special look at how Thailand is attracting Asia's business.